Okay, so here we go, and hopefully I've got everybody on board at this point. And like I said, I'm going to try to pause it in just a little bit to allow other people in that might be waiting. But glad you can make it, and hope you guys are enjoying the fall weather and staying healthy through all of this. Today, I just wanted to go over these more recent updates in terms of what's trending with COVID and a few practice updates. As everybody knows, we're definitely seeing some worrisome trends over the last couple of weeks in particular, not only in Colorado, but nationwide. And I wanted to show you some of the trend maps that I've gotten from John Hopkins and other state sites that illustrate that really well for everyone. I'm just going to admit a couple more people here. Shrink that down. So can you guys give me a thumbs up if you see the screen okay? Everything good there? All right, excellent. It's just acting a little different compared to the prior Zooms I've done there. So current trends are we're seeing an increase in 36 states right now. Colorado cases are climbing, but remain low, and we're currently below the 5% threshold last time I checked. Now it could be going up again. We'll just have to wait and see where it goes today and tomorrow. Our president, unfortunately, continues to not deny this COVID reality, falsely said that we're rounding the corner and a cure is near. That's unfortunate, giving people misinformation. We're continuing to see a politicization of mass instead of applying science, which I think is trending us in the wrong direction. And the misinformation continues to rise in social media. So I think we have to do diligence and correct people if they've not vetted a source that they happen to be sharing on Facebook, Instagram, etc. So do what we can to educate others in terms of the real truth there. Without a doubt, I feel like our country's anxiety level is rising. I'm definitely seeing that amongst patients visiting me in the office and all of their issues. Hold on for just a sec. And with that, I'm definitely feeling a rise in anxiety as well. Hold on for just a second. I'm going to go to the waiting room again. This is crazy having to do that. Oh, there we go. I apologize for that. So those of you who just arrived, basically we are seeing a rise in COVID cases. Colorado's climbing. We're near a threshold of 5% positivity now. Unfortunately, the president continues to deny the COVID reality. And we're seeing this politicization, this misinformation, and anxiety level rise. So go on to the next one. So our opportunities to thrive, I recommend definitely voting now. We need to make a difference in our country, and I'm fine whatever way you want to vote, but I hope you'll make the vote that will improve our situation with COVID and improve our health and our overall standing in the world in terms of reputation and global wellness. I do recommend that we continue to limit our inside activities, particularly as it's getting colder. We're going to be forced inside of the restaurants, so maybe getting more takeout would be a good idea. I think as Thanksgiving comes up, either testing some of the younger people that are coming back from college or high school, visiting some of their elders, definitely doing a test which could be done at University Hospital with a turnaround time of about 24 hours would be recommended, or another facility, just to make sure you don't have an asymptomatic case that could be brought into the household and given to you. So be smart about that. Testing is typically less than $100 or free. And if you feel weird, definitely go ahead and test yourself, even if it's a scratchy throat and maybe a low-grade fever of 99. They could be pretty subtle symptoms. So detecting that early and preventing the spread to others is so critical as we move into these fall and winter seasons here. Um, Definitely keep up with immune support. It can be as basic as vitamin C and D, but then if you want to ramp that up beyond some of those supplements, you can absolutely, add in some of our supplements that we have that have beta glucan support and even some mushroom type immune support like cordyceps. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some other elements that are out there that you can add into your regimen to be protective. I voted today. Yeah, got that baby in there. I was excited to get through that long ballot. Oh my God, I couldn't believe how many initiatives and judges, et cetera, that I had to vote for. My daughter um, wrote a big thing on the reintroduction or the allowing of gray wolves into Colorado, and that's going in the Durango Herald tomorrow. That was done at Fort Lewis College in a project she did. So vote for the reintroduction of the gray wolf, just like we introduced the moose and other species to diversify Colorado's wildlife. I think it's a great idea. Unless you have chickens in your backyard, I guess. Here's a pic I had from our July 7th meeting midsummer, and you can see back then we had 11 million cases that were confirmed with 500,000 deaths at that time. Now I wanted to step forward into today and show you how much that has changed. It's kind of a scary picture. In just 4 months, we've gone from that 11 million to now 38 million confirmed cases, and from 500,000 deaths to over 1 million. So we've basically threefold increase in the number of cases and a twofold increase in the number of deaths in just the 4 months. So we're not winning this game. We have not rounded the corner. As President Trump has said, we've got to get our game on, and we've got to toughen things up and not let our guard down in terms of keeping up with masks and looking for other opportunities to protect ourselves. And one of those, of course, is going to be the vaccine whenever that's available, and hopefully it'll be available coming in January at least. If we look at the rolling average of new cases in the United States, you can see how we had that big spike back in April. And then we kind of flattened the curve, as we call it. You can see from April to June. And then in July, we spiked up again. And then we flattened down again in September. And now we're rising again, as you can see over here, going into October. Did we ever have a first wave, a second wave? Are we in a third wave? I really don't know. And I think it depends on whether you classify a wave as having to include a trough. And we never really had a trough. We just flattened out and we've continued to climb. So I think that we're dealing with more of a continual rise in cases and not necessarily first, second, and third waves, although we can definitely call it a second or third wave just to encourage more observation and hopefully more steadfast protection of ourselves and others from the virus as we see these cases climb through these various waves. Here is just another view of daily changes in cases, and you can see it all the way from the springtime moving forward all the way up to October 13th, and we've definitely seen a pretty significant climb in the United States, and this is actually in Colorado, which has happened just over the last week or so. So we're seeing significant cases, mainly in the Front Range, as you can see over here to the right, with Denver, Fort Collins, Colorado Springs, etc., but sporadically throughout the smaller towns as well. Colorado at this point has had 80,000 cases with 2,100 deaths, and I don't anticipate to see a rise in deaths for at least 3 weeks. That's always the lag time after we have a spike in case rates. So don't anticipate that for just a little bit. Now we can see also how our daily cases have gone up on a little bit smaller scale for you. And as a result, we've seen a lot of hospitalizations go up. I'm Not aware if we have an ICU shortage yet. That would probably be all over the news. So I think we're still okay on number of ICU beds and whatnot. The good news is the average death rate is still low and declining. But again, that may spike as the case number goes up, and then we're into that 3 to 4 weeks out of somebody being ventilated, at which point they're either going to make it or not make it. Um, the number of average positive tests has gone up, and then our testing rate is going up, probably because people are feeling symptomatic with scratchy throats or flu-like symptoms. Now here's the sad picture of us internationally, and you can see how we pretty much rocked the world in terms of the number of cases. We're the orange line here. The only one that's currently beating us out is India, but they're on a pretty steep decline while we're getting ready to go up again. So I think we're going to exceed India and every other country in the world in the next month or two. It's definitely a graph to pay attention to. You can see how most of Europe has done an amazing job mitigating this, and I think that's because they've been more disciplined and they've not created political drama around this issue. Now, where is the shit hitting the fan? Literally, you can see that it's definitely hitting it in the Midwest, pretty big time. Wisconsin, not a surprise. We know how they feel about masks and everything else. We can also see how some of the South is seeing a fairly big spike. So Midwest, definitely the Great Lakes area. Florida's not too bad, surprisingly. North Carolina, South Carolina look pretty bad. Utah's getting hit pretty hard as well. California kind of medium there. So it's fascinating to look at this graph, which shows you more of a county-based epidemiology of disease positivity rate. So this is just another view of that graph showing that spike in the spring, flattening out, another little spike, and then we're climbing again. But here's where you can see something promising, and you can see that the rate of deaths is on the decline at -2%. So that's great to see that slowing down, and hopefully we'll continue to see that as the new treatments become available. So I think as the inpatient treatment strategy has improved, the outcomes, despite these rising cases, should keep things mitigated to a fairly good degree. But I still think we're going to see a climb in the number of deaths, particularly in those states that were pretty hot on that map, and including our own state as well. The combination of remdesivir, dexamethasone, monoclonal antibody therapies may be helping in some of those individuals, like the president, that are able to get that exclusive access. But we're not going to get access to those other than maybe the antiviral remdesivir and the steroid dexamethasone. The monoclonal antibodies near impossible to get at this point unless you're in a study. They've also found that improved ventilator management strategies have helped, particularly putting people on their belly, improves ventilatory outcomes rather than putting them on their back as we traditionally do. And that may be reducing fluid in the lungs or just helping with the expiratory effort. I'm not really sure what the mechanism is there. I'm not sure they know either. The POTUS cocktail du jour, as most of you know, he got the antiviral remdesivir, which has been shown to improve recovery by about 5 days in hospitalized patients. So what they found is that you may get out of there in 10 days instead of 15 days doing this. The cost of it is about $3,100. Dexamethasone is cheap, and I think that's a good one that should be added on pretty much to everybody walking in the door of the hospital that's sick. Pretty huge reduction in mortality rate from 41% to 29% using that. So that's an impressive drop. I don't think remdesivir has been shown. Remdesivir, the antiviral, has not been shown to reduce the risk of dying, just reduce the hospital stay duration. The monoclonal antibody treatment, we still don't have enough data out to show if it really does a whole lot. We We think it does by reducing the number of viruses that are infecting your cells. It kind of ties them up, but more research is needed. It's in the phase 3 trial currently. Eli Lilly is making a similar one to the one developed by Regeneron that was given to President Trump, and that was just halted because of some serious adverse events. So we're waiting to find out what that adverse event is, if it was some kind of a neurologic issue or other issue that's concerning. So more to come on that. Can we realistically get this cocktail? I think all of us are asking, can I get flown to the hospital and given all this aggressive medications with just a cough and a little fatigue like President Trump? The answer is no way. Unfortunately, there's definitely levels of care that are creating disparities between what the president can get, what normal people like you and I can get, and then what other people who don't have insurance or may be from different ethnicities. Unfortunately, this healthcare disparity really exists, and we need to clear that up through major healthcare reform. The unethical issue that comes to mind in particular is the fact that we as a taxpayer, that not being Trump, but me and you, have poured millions and millions of dollars into vaccine development and into drug development for these companies to ramp up things through all these steroid shots in the butt to infuse them with the capital needed to develop it. Yet we're not going to see the benefits downstream in terms of reduction in drug prices or even access. And I also think that many insurance companies are going to be extremely restrictive and only allow us to do, some of these therapies if we're on death's door. So walking in the door with a cough and fatigue and fever, as Trump did, and asking for these can happen, but you and I, it won't happen unless we're getting ready to go on a ventilator and our doctors are fighting as hard as they can to get it approved by the stupid insurance companies. So I could go on, but I will hold off on my further comments there. What's quite ironic is Trump raved about his 100% socialized medicine stay at Walter Reed, yet he wants to can the ACA and any form of socialized support. And I'm not a particular fan of socialized medicine, but I think we do need the ACA as a safety net for many people that can't afford insurance or may lose it as a result of pre-existing conditions. So I urge you to consider that in terms of the health of our country, supporting the ACA, maybe with some reform, but not eliminating the pre-existing condition clause, because I'd say most of us have got some kind of a pre-existing condition. I've seen insurance not insure people for a pre-existing condition of acne. So that's how bad it is getting right now in terms of their unethical mismanagement of people's health care. Now, here's a fun thing. My son was just awarded a scholarship for the Master Beekeeper Fellowship by the Mile High Bee Club. So congratulations to my son. He just got that last night. And I thought this would be fun to include because we've struggled as a family to keep bees alive. And why we struggled, because bees have their own pandemic going on. And part of that pandemic is us infiltrating our country with pesticides, Roundup in particular. Part of it is global warming, which has contributed to more mites that are present within the environment. And the mites actually carry a virus which is given to these poor bees. The bees then succumb to a viral illness and die in pandemic-like numbers. So once a hive is hit by mites with viruses, they can be dead in a matter of 2 or 3 days. Now, it's a little bit more extreme than what we're seeing with the pandemic, but just to remind you that it's not just humans that are suffering from the current environment. Many of our vital insects, particularly bees, which are going to be important for our survival as well in terms of pollination, are at risk in this current environment of global warming and other things happening. So keeping up our game, I think do our best to maintain regular exercise, keep up A healthy weight because that'll reduce your inflammation. Healthy diet, Mediterranean diet, plenty of antioxidants, lots of alkaline type foods are important. Keep up with your basic immune support. Vitamin D has been shown to help. Vitamin C and some of our other goodies that we have here can be helpful too. But definitely vitamin D and C, I think is a good mainstay. And I've got, that list of other things on our website if you ever want to look at it. NAD, which is a B vitamin and helps with ATP production, energy within the cells, within the mitochondria of the cells, is now being shown to be a big player in terms of severity of COVID symptoms. So if we can maintain normal NAD levels through either oral supplementation, transdermal patch supplementation, or IV, that may reduce our risk of going down from COVID. And then it's got other great benefits in terms of just making you feel more energetic and mentally on your game as well. We've got that available in our office, even in subcutaneous form, and the newer IV form I'm going to have available within the coming weeks, which is a nice cocktail that can be given in 1 to 2 hours instead of the longer 4-hour duration. So more on that soon. I'll probably put out a newsletter in regards to that amazing nutrient. Of course, keep up with wearing our masks, keep our gut healthy, et cetera, et cetera. I'm a little repetitive in this, I'm sorry. And then, find time to relax. Get out in nature as we get some snow, get up and do some snowshoeing, backcountry skiing. I'm not sure how good it's going to be going to the ski resorts. I plan to do it, but I'll probably spend more time backcountry skiing just to limit my risk and to get away from the craziness of lift lines, etc. And then if you have family members coming, as I mentioned earlier, think about testing them. They may be able to test at their location, or you could test them at a location here in town before they see you. And that will give you an extra layer of reassurance. As we know, there's so much asymptomatic, so much in the way of asymptomatic cases that they may say, I feel perfectly fine, Dad, but they may be harboring the virus and contagious to you. So I think if you can do it and they've had some form of exposure, definitely test them. This is me out at Devil's Tower, relaxing and enjoying Wyoming. I've just been doing travels, locally and regionally. So a great place to visit. If you guys haven't had a chance to go there, I definitely encourage it. And as mentioned, I talked about the IV NAD coming soon. We do have IV vitamin C, which can be great in terms of reducing inflammation, improving your immune support. Of course, it can be done orally as well, but if you want to up your game, we've got that available. I do have a nurse who can go to your home to do IV therapy if you're ever interested in that. We also have glutathione, which is a very powerful antioxidant, which can help in terms of brain health and reducing neural inflammation, but also reducing global inflammation in the body. So oftentimes I'm combining vitamin C and glutathione together in a short 1-hour infusion. These fast IV infusions, which I'm going to take a course in with Dr. Conover in November, will allow me to give a push of IV vitamins over 10 to 15 minutes, so you don't have to hang out and kill time, and we can give you an amazing cocktail of NAD or other B vitamins in a relatively short period of time. And as mentioned, we've got the NAD patches, which you just slap on your back. They stay on for 24 hours. They slow release and bring up your levels very well. Just about as good as IV, but just not quite the peak that we would get. I've been telling everybody to get the flu shot this year for sure, and I think next year the way it's looking like as well. And I generally encourage that for everybody, but this year in particular, given the risk factors to you guys. Check on your pertussis and measles status, because those particular viruses do float around quite frequently in the wintertime as well, and they're both horrible respiratory illnesses, which, if combined with COVID, could be a deadly cocktail as well. If you're not sure about your pneumonia shots, you can check with me, but there's the 13 and the 23, and there's a time interval between those that you have to do those. they're needed for people over the age of 65 or people that are in their 50s, for example, that may have diabetes is recommended as well. I think the COVID vaccine will be available coming up in January. Now, it may just be one of them that's available. Who knows? It's such a crazy scene at this point. You know, 2 of the vaccines have had issues, the AstraZeneca vaccine and now the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Luckily, I didn't receive that vaccine in the trial I did. I did the Moderna trial, and I received both of them. I definitely got the vaccine. The second one kicked my butt. Unfortunately, it made me have flu-like symptoms for a good 24 hours with an elevated temp. So I'm a little worried about people being willing to do this vaccine given the significant inconvenience of being wiped out for a day or two. However, with the studies that I'm participating in, they might be able to determine that a lower dose is just as effective, and the side effects are less as a result of that. But between that vaccine and 50 other ones that are in the pipeline, I think we'll find one that will hopefully be available in January. All righty, so that's got her, and why don't we unmute here and let you guys shoot at me with any questions you may have. And if you can mute after you ask the question, that'd be.
Fred, this is Brian. I think am I okay? Can you
hear me? You're good. I can hear you well.
Sorry for the delay.
Oh, you're great.
So if the medication is available by January, you have any idea how it's going to be distributed, or what kind of lines you get in, or how will you be able to access? You mentioned on another program that you might be able to get some.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that I can get access to it here in my office. It sounds like it may be more centralized rather than decentralized, which I think is stupid, honestly, because then, yeah, people are going to be waiting in line for it and they'll be vulnerable, and the vaccine's not going to be effective until 2 or 3 weeks or longer after they get it, maybe even further if it's a 2-shot series. So it really makes sense to give it to all the primary care docs, decentralize it, but also give it to the hospitals. And then for those people that don't have a doc, they could go to a public health facility like a 9 Health Fair kind of deal and get it there. But from what I understand, they're going to get it out to physicians and first liners, firemen, et cetera. That's going to be the first wave of vaccines. But then anybody else that is willing to step up to the plate and do it, I think that'll be a really soon availability as well. So I will keep you guys emailed via my newsletter, and then I'll put it on my homepage, Revolutionary MD, in terms of vaccine location places. And it may be more than one vaccine that's available, so you may have a couple different choices in terms of which one you go for. Yeah.
So are you saying to get just a normal flu shot? I've never had a flu shot. So are you saying to just get a regular flu shot now?
Yeah, I would get a regular flu shot, absolutely. At this point, we're seeing very minimal flu activity in the United States, but that could change, just like COVID changed in the last 2 weeks. We've seen a big spike to where it becomes more rampant, say by the end of October or early November. So I would go ahead next time you're in King Soopers, or, if you're here in the office, we've got it as well. Get that checked off your list, and then that way you don't have to worry about a combination of the two. And then the other problem is you have to get swabbed twice if you come in during flu season. One swab would be up your nose for the flu, the other swab would be up the nose for the COVID, and hopefully you won't get a double positive. That would be
Fred is really good. He gave me my shot. I didn't even know that he gave me a shot. In fact, it felt better.
that amazing technique. The placebo effect of thanks, Brian. Oh, I love it. All right. Scott, you're still alive. Your house hadn't burned down. Glad to see that. Sounds like the fire's pretty bad up there,
Can you
though.
hear me?
Yeah, it's very bad. Yeah, it's totally surrounded the house, and it's still going full bore. So we wait and watch.
All right. Our prayers go out to you, to your
Thank
new
you.
wife. Hopefully those hot shots can do their magic. Keep you
Yeah,
safe.
they can't even get in now. Yeah.
Yeah. CSU is still protected, right? I think they're
Yes.
so far.
Yes.
So good.
It went by them and went further east.
Yeah.
So the CSU's environmental site wasn't damaged then. It was.
No, not as far as I know.
Yeah.
I just read an email from them about 20 minutes ago, and it's all around them, but it hasn't done much yet.
Yeah.
Well, that fire and the one that we have in Grand County, it's just like helicopters are flying over
Yep.
all day long. As soon as they get the go ahead with the weather, it's amazing.
Yeah, and we've got the winds today too, so they can't do that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. All right. Well, good luck, guys. I'll come up and bring my shovel.
Yeah, I can use it.
Any other questions?
Dr. Grover, this is Josie. Can you hear me?
Yeah. How are you, Jesse?
Hi, good. I had a quick question on the flu vaccine. You might have already said it and I couldn't hear it, but it's highly recommended that people take the high dose vaccine. And I took the one at your office. Do you know why they're saying that this year that you should take the high dose? And what do you do if you just took the normal one?
I think you're fine with the normal one unless you're, over the age of 65 and you want to do the high dose one, or if you have an immune compromising issue. And I'm kind of old school. I'm more in favor of doing one flu shot, and then if it looks like the flu is one regular, and if it looks like the flu is going to be a little longer duration than normal, doing a booster. I think a booster is more effective than one big ass one, but that's my opinion on it. I honestly think they're just trying to sometimes make a little more money, with the big pharmaceutical companies. So, but yeah, thanks for bringing that up. But I think any flu shot's better than no flu shot, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I had another question on the Moderna trial.
Mm-hmm.
I had heard that they canceled or they had paused it because they weren't recruiting enough minorities.
Right.
Do you know if that's correct?
That is correct. And so I was asking them where they were, and they said, yeah, Fred, if you know anybody in minority category, we're trying to diversify the participants. And I've definitely tried to let people know. So if any of you know anyone of minority status that's interested in joining the trial, that'd be great. It's at the University of Colorado, and I can definitely give you that information for the research assistant to sign up.
Well, you actually did, and I'm a minority, and you actually did, and I emailed them, and they said, oh, we have enough people, check with us next month. So I should have probably mentioned the fact that I was a minority.
Yeah.
But I'll try again.
Yeah, try again. And if you want, maybe I can, knock a little sense into them. We'll see.
Okay, that would be great. I'll see you on the email.
Yeah, sounds great, Josie.
Okay.
Great to hear from you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You too.
I have a quick question. Does it seem like they chose well on the flu this year? Is the vaccine kind of matching up with what they were hoping?
I don't think we know yet. Great question, Mike. I think probably within a month we'll know if it's a good match. So let's cross our fingers that we've nailed it. And I'll let you know if it looks like a good match. But I'd say, more than 50% of the time they nail it pretty good. I'd say on average, my guess would be 75% of the time they've got it. So hopefully this is one of those years. We will see. But yeah, still worth getting it. And sometimes you'll get a little bit of cross-reactive protection. It may not be 100%, but it can lessen the severity of the flu, even if it's a strain somewhat similar to what's coming out of China and Southeast Asia.
May I ask a question?
Uh-huh.
Can you touch on my knowledge about measles? And I don't even know the other word that started with a P that was a respiratory virus. You mentioned about making sure you're caught up on your vaccines.
Yeah.
For those two things. And so I don't know if those are like tetanus where you have to get them every 10 years or, I mean, whatever I got as a kid, I have no idea. So I have no recollection of when those happened.
Yeah. Most of us should have gotten an adequate measles series on board. I was in that window actually when they decided that an additional booster was needed at about 12 years of age. And I got the measles as a kid because they hadn't figured out that the 2 shots as a adolescent wasn't enough. So I would just make sure that you got the full series of measles and you should be fine. Now, if there's any question you can't find your vaccine report, there's no harm in just going ahead and doing the shot.
Yeah, let's assume that I don't have immunization records from the time I was a kid at 54. So what would you do if you're me?
I would go ahead and do it. I think there's no harm in the MMR vaccine, and giving yourself a little booster is going to be beneficial. And yeah, it's a horrible disease to contract as well, and good to do it. We test pregnant women for the measles antibodies and the prenatal visits because that can be a horrible disease to get if you're pregnant in terms of the damage to the fetus in utero. So, and we do find that oftentimes, 20-25% of them, even though they've had the full series, do not have immunity. So when they say you're rubella non-immune, that means you had a lame MMR series and you need to do a booster.
Do we need a doctor's note from you on that to the Walgreens or whatever?
No, you don't. You can just ask for that. And
Okay.
same thing with pertussis. Pertussis comes with a tetanus update. So it's pertussis with diphtheria and tetanus. And then that way you're covered for, injuring yourself while you're working outside. You get a rusty nail or something. So definitely do that update if needed as well. And tetanus, as everybody knows, is good for only 10 years.
Right.
But,
is measles back? Is that why you're mentioning it? Or it's just more putting bigger armor around us?
well, we're seeing a lot of measles and a lot of pertussis because of the anti-vaxxer movement. So there's a lot of cases that arose, particularly from the Israeli air flights going back and forth, but also in Boulder and other communities where they just don't feel strongly enough to get vaccinated for those. So that, herd immunity of children is going down because moms and dads are electing not to immunize their kids. And then us as adults have waxing immunity from the original vaccine series. And so we're picking up pertussis. And pertussis is whooping cough, which can make you pretty deathly ill. So whooping cough plus COVID would be bad. Measles plus COVID would be bad. Flu COVID bad. So I'm just thinking of how can you armor yourself up, and part of it is doing diligence on those other miscellaneous vaccines as well.
Okay. Thank you for addressing that. I'll mute now.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. All right. Any other questions there? Are we good? I think we got
Do
it.
you do all these shots? Fred, do you
I do them all? Yeah, I do. So, I'm one of those rare guys that is, natural, integrative, but also appreciates the best of modern medicine. And I feel that immunizations are definitely a lot more benefit than risk. I would say that, for example, pneumonia, pneumococcal disease is on the rise in terms of drug-resistant forms of that. And what does that mean to you? It means if you're hospitalized with pneumonia as an elderly patient and they throw the kitchen sink at you in terms of the most expensive, greatest antibiotics, that particular bacteria may laugh in your face. And that's the sad reality of the overuse of antibiotics and our community here in the United States, but also globally. I think antibiotics have been overused. So what that means is your only line of defense for some of these drug-resistant bacteria are going to be vaccines. So I think it becomes increasingly important to armor yourself up through vaccines rather than saying, oh, I've got a drug that's going to take care of that if I get it. And I think the same is true for all these other issues. And a lot of people are like, oh, I can get COVID, I'll survive it most likely because of my age. But, there's 20, 30-year-olds that die from it. There's 20, 30-year-olds that have had strokes. I know a physician that just had a massive clot in his liver from COVID. So there's all sorts of weird complications that can happen, not necessarily death, that could make you lose a leg, could make you stroke out, could make you lose your liver, could make you lose your kidneys. I mean, the list goes on, and I didn't even show any of those statistics in terms of the morbidity or, the bad things that happen to people as a result of it. Another one that I've seen in a patient is, cardiac ejection fraction or, mild heart failure as a result of COVID. So you can lose heart function from COVID, and some of these other diseases can do weird things like that too. So I think when we, are critical of vaccines, we have to step back and look at the big picture, not just the death rate, but how much people are maimed by these various disease processes. Even chickenpox, which a lot of people say, oh, I'm not going to give my kid a chickenpox vaccine. I'm going to let them get the chickenpox. Well, I think we lose, and I'll have to look this up, but over 100 kids a year from chickenpox deaths, and to me, that's not okay to lose 100 preventable deaths from chickenpox. And a lot of times it's they scratch the lesion, it gets infected, and then they get a drug-resistant staphylococcal or, flesh-eating bacteria that then goes into their system and kills them. So, there's a lot we can do preventatively, to save lives across the age spectrum. So that's why I'm for that. But then at the same time, I'm also for all the other proactive, preventative, integrative, and functional medicine strategies to keep yourself healthy too. It's really the big picture, synergizing all these elements together.
So Fred, if you're, a single person, and I know you probably mentioned people coming in town for the holidays and maybe getting tested or this or that. I'm not in that boat, but as the weather gets colder here in Denver and the nights get longer, and I want to have some social interaction to be a healthy, connected being and have joy in my life, are you kind of with the Dr. Fauci camp that you wouldn't eat indoors with, say, 3 other friends or something like that? Or, I have been eating outdoors, but those opportunities may, shift, and there'll be heaters and things. But where do you lie on, if you were a single person wanting to connect with your friends? I don't have a specific pod of repeating, getting social friends, I don't have the same 6 people I get together with.
Yeah, it's a tough call. I would say if you can eat outside underneath a heater with a little breeze, that would be my recommendation. I'd be afraid to eat inside right now because our rates are going way up, and it may not be that your friends are even positive, but somebody even, a table or 2 over are floating the virus around in there, or a waiter or waitress is, handling your dishes and you pick it up. I think it's mainly going to be airborne, but there could be a little bit of communication from the wait staff as well. So I'm going to, I've been doing a lot of outdoor eating, and I'm going to do just some sporadic outdoor eating when the weather is good enough, and then just kind of go back to takeout. And maybe what you could do is get takeout and hang out in your backyard, or, hang out, in your kitchen with open windows, a little breeze, so that you kind of reduce that risk, or run a little air filtration unit, kind of like the ones I have in my office by that Germ Guardian company. I think that would be a good way to go too.
Okay, thank you. It's just hard to know, how conservative to be and how mindful, and not be fear-based. I don't feel fear-based. I want to be wise, making wise
Yeah.
decisions. Thanks for
Yeah.
catching up.
Exactly. It's almost, there's an art and a science to it, right? And the art is we want to connect and be social with our friends. The science is, how can we do that in a way that makes us feel sociable and happy, et cetera, without putting ourselves and others at risk. Yeah, it's a challenge. But I think it's doable. You just have to kind of look at the environment you're in and how the airflow is, and ask your friends, hey, did you go to a Trump rally? Did you did you go to some big party recently? So you can kind of assess some of your friends that may be coming over, and I'm sure yours are low risk, and mine are definitely low risk. But you never know when you're going to have somebody that's really been out and about that could be an asymptomatic carrier coming over for dinner.
Right. Maybe I'll look on an outdoor heater on Amazon Prime Day today.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Thank you. I'm muting again.
All right, you're welcome. All right, guys. Any other good ones? I think we're good, yeah? So great to see everybody. Good to see you, Shelby and Carolyn. I got Barb and you guys. All right, good to see you. BJ. So, yeah, I will. I think I'll probably do one, at the same time next month, since things are going to be getting a little hotter here, and maybe sooner. We'll kind of play it by ear. I took a little pause. I think our last one was back in August, so I took September off because things were pretty chill. But we'll plan on definitely a November Zoom, and then feel free to shoot me any emails for follow-up. I'm going to put this online on, I'll transfer it to YouTube, and I'll put it on our homepage. So if you've got other people that might be interested in watching it, you can just say go to revolutionarymb.com and click on today's Zoom, and it should be up and ready by 8 or 9 tonight. All right. Take care, be well, and stay chill and healthy, and don't forget to vote.
Okay.
All right. Take care.
Anne had to miss, but she'll join next time.
Okay, no worries. You can put her to sleep with us tonight, okay? Just run it in the background.
Go to Granby and Winter Park.
All right.
All right.
Take care, Brian. See you guys. See you, Lisa.